This is a test of the Boundary Park alert system.
Hello and welcome to the Boundary Park alert system with me, Matt Dean, in a very sweaty, hot, sticky Oldham still. After it's the Sunday after the Saturday before. Possibly the hottest I've ever been at Boundary Park yesterday. It was absolutely scorching hot. It's still hot today. Unfortunately, it would be kind to say that the performance was lukewarm. So, but we'll get into that. You can hear the familiar, snigger? Is that the right word? I'm not sure. Of Sexy Dave Bradley there. Dave, this Sexy Dave thing, right? Mate. You've given yourself this nickname. Let's be absolutely clear about this. Nobody has ever called you Sexy Dave Bradley. You've just taken this opportunity now to have some kind of public profile and thought, right, okay, I'm going to be Sexy Dave. And then yesterday at the game, people coming up to you calling Sexy Dave.
Sexy Dave.
You've created this nickname.
The people's champ. It's either Dave Bradley, the people's champion, or Sexy Dave Bradley. So I think, yeah, either will do. But call me Sexy Dave just to annoy Matt. Just do it.
Sexy Dave. It doesn't annoy me, Dave. It's fine.
You're jealous.
I call you Sexy Dave too. But amongst the refereeing fraternity, you're known as King of the Laws, aren't you? As well, another self-proclaimed nickname that you give yourself. We can come on to that. Officiating later. Just thought of something that Ryan said before about words that he was going to use during the podcast. So that definitely relates to some of the refereeing yesterday. Ryan. So let's introduce our fan guest. You've been on before, haven't you, Ryan?
Yes, back in the last season. I think it was after Altrincham. Yeah. Yeah,
it's Ryan Williams, who you may know off social media as that guy that sold that social media company and now does things with the Community Trust and various other bits and bobs. Welcome to the show, Ryan.
Thank you.
Is that a sufficient introduction, or do you need to just give yourself more of a bit more? I don't know.
No, that's it. Like I said, probably
sell it a bit better.
It's pretty much. Yeah, I sold my business last year, but I got involved with the Community Trust side of things on the board. Trying to harbour the good things the club have been doing in the summer, which we're in a position now where it's feeling hard to do. But well, I'm sure we'll get into the more finer details. But yeah, that's me. And
so that's 2 millionaires now, Matt. We've had on the show. Andy Halliwell being the first one, and now Ryan Williams being the other.
Yeah.
Good
well,
stuff.
I mean that we know of. Well, I think we've probably had secret millionaires on as well. I'm not sure who.
And we should say Andy's not here this week because, again, he's on his yacht doing his Bosun course around the Med.
It's his wedding anniversary, isn't it, this week?
Nice.
Yeah. So
happy wedding anniversary, Andy and Lucy. So I hope you're having a good time. Right, okay, enough of all that nonsense. Let's get stuck into the nitty-gritty. In fact, let's hear from the manager first of all. Oldham Athletic 0, Dorking Wanderers 0 at a very hot and sweaty Boundary Park yesterday. Let's hear the thoughts of the manager.
David, goalless draw this afternoon. What were your thoughts on the afternoon overall?
Yeah, frustrating. It's another game we should have won. Created the best opportunities in the game. Certainly first half, had a great chance second half at the end with Kurt. It's just not going in at the moment, but we're the better side, and it's another game we should win, but we've got to move on quickly, and we've got to get that win next week.
In terms of searching for the breakthrough, was it just about being more clinical, or was there anything missing else?
Well, we set up to try and play first half, and we did that. We were good when we were passing the ball. We pressed well and created. I think there was 4 decent opportunities, and they didn't have a shot on goal. And it just epitomises where we are at the moment. Just can't seem to put the ball in the back of the net since the Aldershot game. So second half we went with 2 strikers after 15 minutes. Thought we'd try and bring another striker onto the pitch, and then obviously Kurt as a third striker with 10-15 minutes to go. It was a frustrating afternoon for us.
One change to the lineup from last week. Great to see Dan Ward back, of course. Obviously you mentioned how you sat up there wanting to play. How overall did you feel that went against the side who obviously made it difficult?
Yeah, they came here to frustrate. They came here to get a point, and they frustrated us. And they've done a job on us, similar to what we did against Chesterfield, really. But we just got to keep going, keep going next game, and sooner or later the ball's going to fall for someone and they're going to score a few goals. So we just got to keep going, stick together.
As we mentioned, it was good to see Dan back. How overall do you think he did? And he seemed to have a limp at the end. How was he?
Yeah, he's fine. I thought he was sharp for 20-25 minutes, which I expected, and then second half, 5-10 minutes in this heat with him being out for the time he has, he just died on an hour, and it was we knew we would have to make that change sooner rather than later. I thought he did okay. Yeah, he was lively, and he'll be a big player for us.
An important save from Matt Hudson when called upon in the second half.
Yeah, and that's frustrating because they've not showed anything in the game, and we got a bit desperate, and we chased it a lot instead of keep playing, keep passing, and keep doing the things what carved them open in the first half really. But we got a bit desperate, and they nearly scored a goal on the breakaway. But you've got to gamble at home, especially, and you've got to go and search for that goal.
In terms of selection in goal, is Magnus available now, or did you plumb for Matt?
No, Magnus has been available for a couple of weeks, and Matt's been terrific. So he keeps his place on merit, and again today he's done nothing wrong, and he's come up with a wonder save at the end to give us a point.
We've had quite a few lads back now who have been injured. Obviously mentioned how good it is to see them. Just one long-term one, I think, in Josh Lundstrom, just to finish off. How close is he to a return?
Yeah, he's very close. He's probably going to train middle of next week. He's around 6-7 weeks now since an injury. We've obviously missed him. A big play for us. He looked the part in pre-season, didn't he? So we'll be delighted when he's back. Hopefully, maybe next week or certainly the week after.
Thanks.
So, what do you think? Ryan, you're the guest. You go first. What did you make of Dave's assessment of the game?
Well, when he said it's just not going in at the moment, it feels like me pissed with the wife on a Saturday night. But he said it there himself. Gamble at home, and this is gamble. Well, the way I approached yesterday, like I put on Twitter, my kids were mascot. We got there a bit earlier. We got into the Legends Lounge where you drop them off and everything like that. And the atmosphere around the club, everything, it was buzzing. The sun was out. It felt like the first game of the season almost, like the start. And it was Dorking at home. And I was in the fans bar at 5-2 when that new team news dropped. And everything just dropped. Like, it was for me, I looked at it was a chance for him to almost start again yesterday. Like, right, we've had a bit of a shocking start. You've got majority, 90% of your tip players are now fit. You've got 5 strikers that most teams would want in this league. And you drop your team news in there and you're playing one of them. And yeah, you could argue Green and Dickinson were pushed up to be a 4-3-3. But to me, Devine Green, he's a winger in a 4-4-2. He's not a right wing, what you'd call an attack. I hate for the Premier League comparisons, but Mo Salah, for example, he's a right wing forward. You're not going to get Devine Green cutting in like that. He sticks to the byline and he wants to whip it in. But when you've only got one striker up there, it's going to no one. And just, yeah, there's I've said it. I said it to you before we started recording. It's all very bizarre at the moment. He's a nice guy. My mate texted me. He was there. He popped into see us before the game because a friend of a friend knew him, and he said what a really nice guy he is, and he wants the best. And it's not translating onto the pitch. And he says that gamble at home. Well, play Willoughby and Reid from the off with Norwood and have a goal, then change it. Get 2 or 3 up. Bring what I don't know. There's a few more things as we get going about the longer term plan with him and in the past. But yeah, that's how I saw it yesterday. And just on the actual game, first half, I agree. When they got booed off, I did think it was a little harsh because I thought we were in complete control that first half. But he didn't see it. They did have a shot. They had a counter attack in that first.
Yeah,
half.
they did. Yeah. It went straight at the keeper, didn't it? And it was.
What is a common theme with us now is this at half time. How many games we let go in the second half now? It's getting a bit weird. Other teams change it, and we never know how to change it back. And they sending them out 5 minutes early to kick. I think someone pointed out on Twitter, sent them out in the baking heat 5 minutes early yesterday. Like, why? You're the home team. I don't know if it's a psychological thing to show the opposition you're ready to come out.
Let's just try and put a bit of balance. We don't know that Uns were sent them out, first of all. Like, it could have been the captain said, come on, lads. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we don't. Yeah. They went out early. I agree that in that heat, it doesn't seem like a very sensible thing to do. I agree with that. But
we don't know at the back end of last season, though. Well, when we were struggling around before Christmas, Mark, there was a few games they come out. He even said in one of the interviews, I sent them out, I'd had enough of them kind of thing.
Yeah.
But, But like I said, the word I keep circling back to is bizarre, and there's a lot to unpick about the whole last 12 months kind of thing. So, yeah, I'm sure we'll get into it.
So on the game, Dave, I think, like, what do you make of his assessment of it, first of all, Dave?
I don't think he was honest. I thought Dorking were poor. Dorking were a really poor side, but we were nowhere the better team. It was two struggling sides, stifled of any creativity. And also, I don't think he'd saw the Dorking goal, because it was a goal, and it wasn't a it was a wondrous decision by the linesman and the referee not to give it, because the ball was clearly over the line. And it was, thank God the football gods are on our side, because it was clearly over the line. I thought Dan Wall did play well. First 20 minutes, I thought he was zipping it about. He looked busy. Sheeran should have buried that one in the first half. That just went over the bar when he was following in. But why Sheeran was following in, other than someone like Green or Brennan Dickinson? He was just the wrong player following in. First half, I thought we controlled the game, and I thought, yeah, we're going to be in a good position here. And then they just sort of died fitness-wise second half. Now, you can say it's the heat, but we're playing against a part-time team who train twice a week on a Tuesday and Thursday morning. And for me, it looked like they were equals fitness-wise. And I thought if Dorking had another 5 minutes, I think they would have scored, because they were putting the pressure on us. We could have been there all day for scoring, and we wouldn't have. Fondop busy when he came on. Willoughby wasn't played as a striker; he was played as a left-hand midfielder. So, as I say, I have to agree with Ryan on his comments. It was very, very bizarre, and we should have been playing 4-4-2 from the outset at the start of that game.
I think
I've got a brilliant tweet saved here from, I think, Simon Crow on Twitter. He signed Nuttall, Reid, and Willoughby, and he turns to Fondop first, who potentially threw the game away against Solihull, and that shows what he thinks of his own recruitment. And I think it's a good point. It was like and I think recruitment as a whole is another. Probably you could have an hour chatting about it. We signed this Freeman, and he looked like he was what we were missing at right back. He was great against Aldershot. He was against Chesterfield. Sutton's back fit. Who I do like Sutton, but he's not a fullback. He's not. He never will be. And then Freeman, he wasn't on the bench yesterday, and it's like. And then there's a number of players now. You'd say like Dickinson on his debut against Aldershot. Like people were purring about him. He looked brilliant. Norwood looked to cut above for a few games, and it feels like once they slip into this system or whatever the training is, the coaching is, they're declining. You can't name one player in that team who's got better, and that's the longer term, bigger worry picture for me. And I thought yesterday where my head started to turn. Now I can't see where the bright sparks are. Like that's the struggle.
I thought Brennan Dickinson was absolutely knackered after an hour yesterday. He's not up to full fitness. I was surprised when he took. Gardner. I'm not surprised that he took Gardner off when he brought Willoughby on, but Dickinson was desperate to come off, which leads me to think that the options on the bench weren't great. I thought that if he's going to play that 4-3, the problem yesterday was he started with this 4-3-3. Then he went to a 4-4-2. Then he went back to a 4-3-3. So we're changing the formation quite considerably within the game. But why wasn't Tollett on the bench if you're going to play a 4-3-3? Because he's the kind of player that Dickinson needed to come off and Tollett needed to go on in his players. That would have worked yesterday, but he didn't have that option available to him. So I think, look, yesterday was poor. We didn't have, I think, Norwood looked frustrated. There wasn't enough going on around him. Why? I thought that Nuttall and Norwood looked like a good combination. Now, but unfortunately, Nuttall was booed off the pitch against Chesterfield, and he's not performed since. So, like, apparently, I don't think he's in a good place mentally, Norwood, as a result of what's going on. And I get a lot of stick for giving fans stick, but I don't think that booing players off at this stage of the season, including Joe Nuttall, is good for the team. I also don't think shouting you're getting sacked in the morning to your own manager at home is productive. Now, you're singing David Unsworth, your football is shit. It's fair enough because the football is shit at the minute, right? That's fine. Insofar as if you're going to sing something, I think that's the football is shit. There's no doubt about it. It's not just David Unsworth football, by the way. The players as well have to take some accountability for it. So that's something that needs to be discussed. Will Sutton yesterday in the post-match interview for the Man of the Match award, he said he was very honest, and he said, "Look, it's just not happening, and we're not sure why. It's just, and he's not going to come out and slate his manager. He's not going to come out and slate his teammates. He was very frustrated, and he was very honest, and it was actually quite refreshing to hear. But Unsworth in his post-match, me and you were talking, Dave, about Shez and how honest he always was about performances. We like that about Shez. Not all managers are like that. Sometimes they'll try and spin on the positives of the game, and we were in control of the ball for most of the game. But we didn't create anywhere near enough chances, and that's the problem. And like you say, Ryan, like that front three didn't really work. It wasn't a good combination, and you do have to question. You say, well, why did you pick that combination? You said about Sheeran coming in to finish. The reason Sheeran came in to finish because he was playing as the higher midfield player behind the front three. That was his role to push on and do the press. So.
In that first half, genuinely, Oldham had the ball, and Hobson's brilliant on the ball, like better than I expected. And they were coming forward and coming forward and coming forward. And Dorking were giving us that space. And Gard, I do feel sorry for the centre backs because they're looking. They've got Norwood he's quick when he gets going, but he's not going to be your guy who's going to run on a 30-yard pass. Green's too wide in a 3 because he's still thinking of a 4-4-2 mentality. Dickinson's not fit enough to be down that left flank. So I get sometimes why they just lump it or it goes to no one because they're limited. And
but yesterday, Ryan, what I did notice was, let's be honest, it was hot, and it was hot for both teams, right? And we know that. But in the normal run of things, what happens is players like Norwood and Green, they constantly making runs and for the ball to come, and there was runs that they were making yesterday where they weren't getting the ball quick enough from the defenders and from the midfielders, where you could see that they're running the line, they're watching the line, they're making the run. Now, on a day like yesterday, you can't keep making those runs constantly because it's too hot and you burn yourself out. And so that was the problem yesterday. The runs that they should have been making, they were making, when they weren't getting the ball, it was disheartening them, and they weren't keeping making them because it was too exhausting. So it was frustrating to watch.
I expected more from Gardner in his role. I expected him to be the deep line playmaker who would get the ball off the centre backs, and because he's got that pass on him. So Hogan and Hobson should be looking for Gardner, unless it's teams are marking Gardner out of the game, then they know our midfield's gone. It could be that. But at times I thought if Gardner comes short for it, Hobson and Hogan know the option every time. And I thought Dorking might kitchen out of the game brilliantly yesterday because he is our big threat down that left-hand side. I can't even remember seeing him.
He was very quiet,
but when you got 3 centre-backs at Dorking, and you can see for the first 20 minutes, it was just Norwood up top on his own. The manager has to take responsibility and change it, and he didn't change it until, was it the 60th minute when he brought on Fondop? Now, that's not on the players, and that's not on it's on one person, and that's David Unsworth. And if he couldn't see that until 65 minutes, then that's not good enough for me. I'm really sorry, but he needs, with his credentials and his coaching and his background, he had enough strikers on the bench there to change it, and it took him that long to figure it out. I don't think that was because there's nothing doing in that game. I'm sorry, but it's not good enough. It's not. His
use of the subs bench has been odd ever since he's come in, especially this season. Like we only made 2 subs again yesterday when we needed to. We had Nuttall and Reed sat with a tracksuit on next to him, and he needed a win. Let's be honest. But then I'll come back to that point in a minute. But then, like Gateshead away, 2-1. I don't think anyone would have got upset if he'd have brought Raglan on to see that game out, and he brought Nuttall on away, and he didn't look up for it, Nuttall, and then suddenly we made that mistake at the back. But if Raglan sat in there with Sutton, Hobson, and Hogan, does that mistake happen? I don't think so.
But this is the thing, though, Ryan, isn't it? I mean, because you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. And so if he brings on Raglan and we still concede, then he gets loads of shit for doing that. So, like, this is where we're at now. Like, it's absolutely clear what a lot of fans think about David Unsworth. There's no, we can't. We can't say. I mean, a lot of the stuff in the group chats from that I'm having, and I'm avoiding the hashtag because it's just depressing on the whole. But like, there was a lot of chanting yesterday for Unsworth out, and I feel for him as an individual, because I know he's doing his best, and like you said, he is a nice bloke, but he's got to get results. That's his job as a football manager. So there is always going to be pressure. I feel for the board. So I need to give a shout out to Nick Froggatt, who I've never met and I've never seen, but he gifted us a hospitality for the podcast, and he said it's just a thanks for all the things that we've done, all the effort we've put in up on the podcast over the last few years, which was lovely, and I'm really grateful to Nick for that. So thank you. And James Lampard came up from Dorking, who used to play for Dorking and does their podcast, and he was a lovely guy. I met his wife, and we had a lovely day, and obviously being in the hospitality when Mark came in, we had a chat with Mark White. We obviously got sent off for kicking the ball away, which is all a bit bizarre, to use your word again, Ryan. Frank was in there, and Luke and everybody, and you could feel the frustration and a little bit of the. I mean, they were all very relaxed, like, weren't they, Dave? Everyone was having a drink and having, and making the most of it, having a good day. But I think there's definitely that undercurrent of, we really need this to work, and I think that I still think that it's the best. The best outcome is if it works for David Unsworth, it works financially for the club and all that kind of stuff. But the question is, what does David Unsworth need to do, pretty sharpish, to start making it work? And I mean, personally, I think him and his players need to be braver. And I think they need to come together. I don't know, it's up to him to do it, but he needs to be brave in terms of his formation. He needs to be brave and say, right, this is how we're going to play. And he needs to stick to it, and he needs to get some consistency in his best 11, and because it does appear to be all over the place, doesn't it? And that is definitely on him. There's no two ways about that. The players are getting booed off, and that's look. They're going to have to deal with it because they're professional footballers, and that's really. Like I said, I say every week, fans, you're accountable for your behaviour, and if you're booing individual players and it's affecting them mentally, don't put it all on them and say, "Oh, well, they should be able to deal with it." You probably should think about dishing it as well. So I think we all need to have a look at ourselves. I think the manager and the coaching staff need to look at themselves. The players need to look at themselves. As fans, Mark White came on the phone the other day and said how, we're now getting a reputation. Keep Latics fans off. That the fans will turn on the players and all that kind of stuff. And he was saying about from a manager and an owner's point of view how negative that is. So there's lots of things going on here, lots of moving parts. And what a lot of people say is, well, the simple solution is sack the manager. Well, if you look at the boards in the eye and the owners in the eye, that's not the simple solution at this moment in time, because they believe that this needs to be given time. So it's complicated. Go on,
Ryan. This is the point I wanted to circle back to when he said he needed a win yesterday. When I've thought, and I've seen a few people on the hashtag say it, did he need a win yesterday? This is, what pressure does he have from above? He doesn't look like a man under pressure. Like, is he being told it's all okay? And if, when you think the comparison, you think of Stockport were down here for 7-8 years. Like, if where to me the discrepancy is, if he was told to get players like Kurt Willoughby, younger players, develop them for the year or 2-3 seasons, then we'll go for it. Well, fine, we'd understand we're in a bit of a building season again. But it's players like Norwood coming in on people seem to know he's on $5,000 a week, apparently. Raglan, so buying players like that are saying, no, we're going for this. And has he been told he has to go for it? Or has he been told he's got this full year?
That's interesting, because that's what Mark was saying on the phone in as well about setting expectations in terms of from the club and from the top level, and saying what's the aspiration, what's the plan, what do we expect from our manager, what do we expect from the players that we've bought in terms of, and I don't think that this squad is the finished article definitely not for winning the league. There's no doubt about that. And I'm not saying that all fans are expecting us to win the league. There are players that we've had in that brought in that, like I said, like Dickinson, who's a good player, but he's definitely not off the pace in terms of his fitness. I don't think it's balanced properly. I don't think we have enough, cover at fullbacks, for example. And I think there's still a lot of work to do. Is it underperforming? Absolutely underperforming. So what is it? 7 points in 8 games. It's not good enough. 1 win in 8 games. It's absolutely not good enough. Is the manager delivering? Well, the response from the people that watch the games every week, from the fans, is that he's not delivering, and all that needs to be taken into account. But from the board's point of view, should they be sacking their manager 8 games into the season, or should they stick to the guns? And you know, all things considered, they must be, you know, we must be meeting every day, talking every day, looking at everything, working on everything. It's up to them to make that decision with all the information that they have. And I really think that singing "You're getting sacked in the morning" to your own manager at home, you sing that to your opposition manager when you know what I mean. You don't. For me, that was embarrassing yesterday, and I don't care like if it upsets people. I don't think that is useful. The football was shit. I accept that. You can sing that. For me, I don't think that's the end of the world. But booing at half time when you're 0-0, I think is people have made their minds up, and they're putting the pressure on now, and they're doing it to put the pressure on the board because they want the manager out. That's what's happening.
I think there is an element of that, though. This is the same set of fans, including yourself and everything, that got the last regime out, rightly so. They're the driving force. They brought the Rothwells and the Royals here. So they do need listening to, because they were right, in a way. And I don't think it's not just this 8 games, is it? This is the problem. From the day he took over, is something's just not being right. Put it back into the bizarre bracket. Something's just never. I think he didn't speak to the fans for 3-4 weeks, and it's. I'm like you. I would still love nothing more than to David Unsworth be at the end of your end of season party there, being lifted up on a chair. I don't know about that, but celebrating. I'd love nothing more than for it to be him. But there's just, I don't know how it's solved, because I can't see where the green shoots are. I really don't, and I don't see players getting better. I don't see formations settling. I don't see tactics settling, and. I know. I'm because one of the things that annoys me the most that people say to me is that I'm like, you know, David Unsworth, my man, and I'm licking his ass, kissing his ass, and all this guy. It's not the case at all. If he doesn't deliver, he's out the door. It's as simple as that. The question is, how long does he get, and how much support does he get from everybody, including the board and the fans and everybody else? I've said it multiple times. I'd rather that we were a football club that managers leave saying, you know what, they backed me 100%. They were behind me the whole time. It didn't work out, and it didn't, you know, there were times when it was really bad, but they were with me and they stuck me and they supported me. We're not that club. We're the club that gets on players' backs very, very early on. We always have done, and now and managers as well. And that thing about changing the owner and doing all that stuff, that was desperate measures. Like it's you know, and everybody had to come together to do that. And what we have to remember is that the fan base is divided on this issue. The most vocal people chant for Unsworth out, and but there are people that are not chanting for it. It's not an all on one side or another, and it's not that one side or the other is right or wrong. But it has to, when we have like podcasts like this, we have to debate both sides of the argument, don't we? It's very easy to be I'm an Unsworth out, and I'm just going to keep repeating the same message over and over again. You've made some really good points, Ryan, which I totally agree with in terms of the performance, the squad, the way it's been, all that stuff. You can't argue with it, and it's the responsibility lies with the manager to make these things right, and he's not doing, and he needs to do it. It's just the reason I made that point yesterday. I don't think I've ever been sat in a stadium. I sit in the community stand with the kids on that side, so I'm with the calmer side, and there was people chanting from there as well, and vocal. And I don't think I've ever seen, and I've got my friend who sits above the tunnel in the north stand. I've never known a majority like that against what they're seeing, if you know what I mean. Like, because normally if a manager's ever been that bad, they've been sacked, or if the football's got that bad, they've been sacked. It's just, I don't think I've ever seen a crowd that big, that vocal before, and that was what I found a bit of a turning point yesterday. I thought, wow, we're gonna have to listen to this. That's my own. I'm not saying when you get 6 or 7 having a goal manager out, that is crap. You always get them ones who say that. But yeah, sorry, Dave, I'll let you get onto that. But I just my opinion was that was the majority yesterday.
It was very, very noticeable. I mean, there's no question that it was significant. I'm definitely significant. Go on, Dave.
The last time I saw the fans getting on a manager's back to that ilk was Graham Sharp, the Graham Sharp era. You know, when we were going down from the top division, not top division, Division 1. Yeah, and it was just. And I was young at the time, but it was like, goodness me. And I think a fan came onto the pitch and sat in the centre circle, and it was like, what is going on? And I think the day after, I think he got sacked. I think it was against Barnsley, and we got beat 1-0. I think. But yeah, that it was like they were getting sacked in the morning, and the Chaddy M was just roaring it all the way through the.
I think I'd help Unsworth a little bit as well. Is this rapport with the fans? You know, Sheridan, win, lose or draw, would come and clap the away end. You know, I don't know. He needs to. This is where I think people don't think he respects the situation. It's all right. I mean, his interviews going, "Oh, the fans were great," and they just come over and maybe not. I think it's too late now because if he'd have come over yesterday, he'd have had pelters. Like, but I think I don't know. I don't know where this relationship's fixed. Like, it's real. Again, if I was a board member, if this was my company and that was I wouldn't know what to do. And I agree with you. I don't think they know what to do because they want to do the right thing. But what is the right thing?
Well, this is the thing. And this is what I keep trying to bring it back round to is the fact that we've got brand new owners of the football club, right? The Rothwell family who, you know, up until just over 12 months ago were very, very happy, making lots of money with a successful business, making porta cabins and bunker bins and all this kind of stuff, right? And they were doing all the other things, Frank rowing the Atlantic and whatever, right? Living a nice life, working hard and all that, right? And then they've decided to come in and put the money into the football club. But they, you know, and then they've assembled a board of people, you know, some really good people in business as well, by the way, and people with experience at the FA and, you know, top law people and marketing people and blah, blah, blah. And they've started this rebuilding of the football club, and they've decided, and they've gone through a process, and they've recruited a manager, and they're in that process now. A situation like this, like, well, to bring it back to what you said before about last season, and there's a few seasons before where we had to get rid of the manager. What we had to do is we all had to come together as a fan base and say, right, what do we need to do to start the process of healing our football club? And what we did on this podcast was we talked about everything that had happened over the years, and we looked at the situation and we assessed it. And we said, right, this is where we are, and then this is where we need to be. And a process of change started. And we said that we needed to come together as a fan base, and we needed to, you know, work together. So we've done all that. We're here now. We've got the Rothwells. We've got a family of people and a new board and new people that have come in to work to try and develop the football club. Now we're at a point where one element of that, in the eyes of you know, the supporters, or a significant proportion of the supporters, the manager's not working. But we have to take that. We can't just take that in isolation. We have to look at everything else and what's going on at this football club. This football club is being rebuilt, and to start like aggressively picking out one element of that, we have to look at the situation now and say, like, Ryan, we have to say, like, how do we heal this now? What do we do? What's the situation? Like you've said, it's a good point. What can Unsworth do? What can the board do? You know, they're very quiet. You know, you get the whole kind of like vote of confidence in typical Frank fashion, at Kate said, but like that's not actually going to fix anything. So like from the supporters' point of view, from the manager's point of view, from the players, what do we need to do to try and heal this situation and make it work rather than go back down the same road of, it's not working, sack the manager, bring another manager in, which is the thing that has not worked for us for decades. And it might be that the fix is to sack the manager, but it might not be as well. And so we just need to have that conversation intelligently. I put this to the board. I put this to Luke, who listens, and to Darren, who listens. What are we going to do? What are you going to do to try and fix this situation? Because it's clearly, with the noise that Boundary Park is today, if we don't get a win, we went to Bromley last season, Dave, we got beat 3-0. It was abysmal. That was Unsworth's first game in charge. Then we've got Oxford City at home, who managed to who beat Hartlepool 5-2 yesterday. So, you know, like, there's two games there that something's got to be done, guys. Like, something has got to be done to make, to start some kind of healing process with this, whatever the outcome is.
It almost feels like a mediation session, sorry.
Yeah.
Because, like, if the board are going to come out and say, he is our guy, you've got to know he is our guy. And then, then the other side, I don't know how the fans reply to that, but I think even if Unsworth acknowledge, to me, the fans are being, like yesterday, it's almost like a naughty child, or you just ignore it, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe a bit of acknowledgement of, I've heard that today, I'm really sorry they feel like that. I really want to fix this. I really want to turn it around for them. And I think that's what irks people, the fact that
it's a two-way thing. It's a collective responsibility. And that's what I keep trying to get a point across. It's all of us, and it's on the manager, it's on the board, it's on us as fans. And it's like a pressure cooker at the minute, or it's like a pot boiling. It's just boiling, and it's going to go. And with that has got to be challenged. It's got to be dealt with. So we've looking at this board and saying we've got really good people here that know about marketing, PR, business. Come on, guys, come on board. Like let's do something that is like you say, Ryan. You're absolutely spot on. Let's look each other in the eye and acknowledge this, and try and move forward over the next few games, and hopefully then the manager and the players can, because I think a lot of it is confidence. I think the stuff that he's saying in the interviews about the balls going in, and we do need that run a few. We can scrape a lucky 1-0 at Bromley next week, and then get a win against Oxford City, get that little run going. Things turn round, don't they, when you start to get a little run, and hopefully that'll be the case. But will we get that long? Will we get to that point?
We're 5 points from the playoffs, like. There's no games in hand, so we're not in that place where we're 2 games in hand. And everyone's
because Ryan, people are saying before it's too late. Like it's as if like it's not good. There isn't this immediate panic, and I've got respect for the board for standing with their man, and having some patience for whatever that amount of time is, rather than reacting too quickly to sack him. I've got respect for that, because I think that's what we need. But also on the flip side of that, Unsworth got to start getting these results, hasn't he? So
build them relationships.
Well, it's performance based, isn't it? Any walk of life, any business, it's performance based, and there's only so far you can go when the performance isn't there. And obviously, Frank's from a business where if some of his staff aren't working, at the performance level that he wants, he'll make the decision. Like as you, Ryan, if someone's you want to fix this problem, which is fundamentally the manager, if they don't improve the performances, which he's responsible for the selection of the team, he's responsible for winning games. If he can't fix that, then there's only so amount of time that the board's going to give him. But as you said, at the moment that they've probably got a contingency plan in place to say after a certain amount of games, it's got to be looked at. But again, you've got to have the time to do that. You can have knee-jerk reactions like Abdallah or Frankie Bunn, you lose 6-1, we'll just sack him because of that bad result. We don't want that. But that's what you say, Ryan. The fans are irked. And obviously yesterday was like a National League day. We had 6,200 there compared to like the 8,000, 8,000 mark. So a lot of fans have said, I'm not going again until Unsworth's gone. And I was quite surprised at that attendance. And I was speaking to someone who used to work in the commercial department at Oldham, and they couldn't believe how low the attendance was for that day yesterday.
When you talk about the performance-based and the KPIs, if you want to call it in business terms, your KPIs, you think you've got it. If this is where I think the discrepancy of what the club wants, what the fan wants, if his target is 7th place, if his target is the playoffs, then 7th place is his target, and he's only 5 points behind. So internally, he's saying, right, well, that's probably 3 or 4 more games. If that gets longer than 5, then this is where I think there's a massive discrepancy of what is the actual target, and I think it just comes like the style of play. I said to my dad in the first half, Dorking were playing a certain way of football. They reminded how we did under Keith Curle, playing out from the back, but the personnel weren't quite good enough to do it. But I thought, imagine us when we have that personnel, someone like Mark White drilling us that, how different it could look. And I think that's what, or it's a style of play. If you think of a Ronnie Moore, that you always circle back to that, like Sam Allardyce style. If you're going to play a long ball game, play a bloody long ball game. We seem to be an hybrid in between and
tinkering all the time.
Yeah.
And I want to, like yesterday, like you talked about, you mentioned Hobson, Ryan. He's got a bit of the Fitzalls about him, in terms of his stature, his build, his how he is on the ball.
Brilliant
last season, he was really good. And I actually thought, I know you're not Hogan's biggest fan, Dave, but like yesterday, he in the second half, he tried leading that team onto a win. And like Unsworth said in his interview, they were getting desperate. And Hogan was doing 50-yard, 60-yard runs from the back, getting forward, trying to, throwing himself at things. He was a leader's performance in that second half. It was easy to go unnoticed, but he did. Having said that, again, his distribution is nothing like it is with Hobson. But like, when we saw Notts County last season, one of the most impressive things about how they played the game was how comfortable their centre halves are on the ball. They got the ball and they took it forward, and they dictated the play from the back, and everything went through them. we don't play like that. We haven't got. Obviously, with Hobson, I think we've got somebody who can do that. But when that midfield things need sorting out, where we're going through. Obviously, we've got a lot of hopes pinned on Lundstrom. So, but let's just do a bit of the old football manager thing now. Let's name our best team from what we the fans are always that you said, Ryan, couldn't believe the team sheet. There was a dip on Saturday. Just everyone's fit. What's your starting 11?
4-4-2. Norman, Kitchen, Hobson, Raglan, Freeman. Then I would have Lundstrom in the middle, Gardner out wide. I would have Dickinson on the left, Green on the right, and Nuttall and Norwood.
Yeah,
pace, power.
That's pretty much the team I'd go for, Dave. I'll be honest. Pretty much. That isn't the
same when it caught. What is the situation with Freeman? Because he looked like he was bad. We could tell he weren't fit, but he looked like he was all the answers we needed at right back against Aldershot. Yeah. It was a ball playing right back who. I think one of the goals, he brought it down, he looked, so someone pointed it out on Twitter, they cut it up, he looked, he found the midfielder, I think, and then he flicked it on and we scored from it. And it's again, I feel so sorry for Will Sutton because he's going to be another one of them youngsters who doesn't hit the mark, goes on someone else and probably does well.
He's another Tom Hamer, isn't he? Tom Hamer. Yeah. That's what's going to happen. And what will happen is he'll get signed and people say, he's not a right back. Let's play him in centre back. And he'll go for, like Tarkowski and go for like 3 million to someone down the line, after he's played for I don't know, Plymouth.
You say the Dream 11, though, we've got to be realistic with Lundstrom. If he's not training till next Thursday, we're not going to see him for another 3 games, I don't think.
Well, okay then. So, but this is the point I was going to make there, Ryan, on that. Is so it's a 4-4-2, right? Like we're okay with that. Lundstrom's not available. So Dan Ward goes into the centre of midfield with Dan Gardner, right? Up front, Norwood gets a knock during the game, has to come off. So you put Willoughby up top with Nuttall, right? So you play your 2 forwards again, you got your big man and Willoughby running off. Not necessarily in the same game, but Nuttall can't play, and Norwood can't play, for example, for whatever reason, because this happens over a season, right? So you go with Fondop and Willoughby up top. That's your front 2, your big man and your so is there a system where the team know how to play in, and when they come in, they know what their role's going to be within that formation? What happens if you go down to 10 men? Right, well, we're going to play like this, for example. There might be the odd game.
Drop the striker into midfield and just sub one of the strikers. Yeah, the problem is I can see a lot of remnants from the Kuhl days, not the goals. Don't get me wrong, but the team got to the point where they didn't know what formation they were playing halfway through the game, and they kept on looking over to the bench, and Kuhl kept on tinkering and changing every bloody game. That they didn't know what the best system was, and then that's why they had a massive dip in form towards the end of the season with Kuhl, albeit we needed a central defender as well. But they didn't know what system they were playing. But when they played that same system for about 3 or 4 games, they were on a decent run, like beating Exeter away. When Rose scored that fantastic goal. But again, he keeps tinkering it and changing it, and I appreciate that you have to do that because you've probably got scouts from the other team looking at your system. But if you have a belief and the system works, you're winning games.
You think of Wrexham and Notts County, everyone knew how they were going to play, but if they play well enough, you can't stop them.
Exactly.
And that's what really annoys fans going to Chesterfield and defending. Did we need, why not just, this is how we play? If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but at least we've got our style of play. And I think, again, this comes back to the fall between the fans and the manager.
We have no identity, do we? We don't have an identity on the pitch. That's the problem.
And that should be getting built now after 12 months, especially. Yeah.
I agree. And last week against Gateshead and this week against Dorking, we set up the same. With the same sort of front 4 press, which we'd not done at all up till that point. And it does kind of seem quite reactionary in terms of oh shit, well I need to do something a bit different this week because I'm getting loads of sticks, so I'm going to do something. And that's why I'd prefer to see him being braver. And it's up to him as the football man and his team and his staff. And I don't really, if they don't want to do 4-4, whatever it is they want to do it, but do it well. That's the thing. Do it and do it right, and do it consistently, and do it in a way where whenever a player has to come in, that they know their job in that system, and they know that I'm covering for him in that, and we're all, and that's why I think that this squad is a way off where it wants to be. I think that there are better players that need to come in to this squad. It's not a championship winning squad at the minute. And I think we need, and next season, again, we'll have to bring players in. There will be people that say, well, there's no point bringing new players in under Unsworth because you won't get the best out of them. And that's, don't give him any more. Like, it's a debate that goes on. This is football. This is what happens in football. I do keep thinking, though, that we have to put it into context of where we've come from last season and where we are now and what the objectives are and all that kind of stuff, and not sort of crumbling under negativity, because I think that's what it is. I think the whole kind of, there's still a lot of negativity, and you could say that in terms of the way that the manager's setting up teams, that's negativity. That breeds negativity on the terraces. Some of the fans are impatient, and I think impatience is a negative trait. So I think there's still a lot of negativity in and around the football club, and I think we need to try and deal with it. Now, the Atleticos were trying to get behind the team for most of the game yesterday. And unfortunately, the loudest chants of the whole game were against the manager. That's a fact. So I'm going to before we do Latic's Mind with Ryan, I want to bring it back to that thing of putting this out to everybody. Absolutely everybody involved with the club, the board of directors, the manager, the team, the fans. What are we going to do about this? How are we going to get over this point? And don't just listening to this now saying, "Well, sack him." That's the clearly that is not necessarily about to happen. He's not getting sacked in the morning. So what do we do about it? And I'll put that to you, Ryan. Like, just if you've got any ideas and suggestions that you want to throw out there to anyone who's listening.
I agree. I think that's where. Yeah,
do you have any suggestions? Like, because genuinely, I think that there is a need to find some. There is a need to try and do something at this point, isn't there?
I think the biggest. I think there needs to be. I don't know if another fans forum's a bit dramatic, or even just a fan, just a. Although I think fans are just sick of hearing all this. They want to see results more than statements and more than like interviews. But I think there seems to be some acknowledgement between, like we talked about that before, a bit like a mediation between manager and fans. If this is the man to take us forward, we're the fans to lead this forward. Like I say, where's the middle ground?
Yeah, I mean, I really, really want us all to be pulling in the same direction. It's the cooperation and acknowledging the situation got us to this point where the club. Well, imagine this, right? We are now disappointed with 6,200 fans turning up to a non-league game against Dorking Wanderers. We didn't get 6,200 fans in League Two, and we didn't get that many fans in League One very often. So
I'm just going to dip back in. My internet's really bombed.
Yeah, but I think it's different. It's different though, isn't it? Because Corney didn't invest in the club for God knows how long. That's my point, Dave. It is different. It's very different, and it's different in lots and lots of good ways. And it's fantastic that we get crowds of 6,200 and more in this division. To be disappointed with a crowd of 6,200 in this division, it's a great crowd for this level, an absolutely fantastic crowd for this level. And it's gone down, but that just shows how much there is to be positive about and how much there is to be grateful about. So
it's frightening where we could get to, isn't it? That's the thing.
Yeah, we're not, and we're never going to go from where we were last season to just absolutely romping this league this season. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of people have got that in their head that was going to be the case. And managing expectations comes from the top. Like we heard from Mark yesterday. He said he thought that he wasn't just talking about Oldham, or he wasn't specifically talking about Oldham. He was talking about in general, that sort of setting those level of expectations. I think I've just checked my Twitter there. Some people are saying, right, getting the podcast, can you get Darren Royal in to have a chat and stuff like that? I spoke to him yesterday I mentioned about like having, more having a chat with him next week about the podcast. And it's not, we're fans. We've set this up to come and talk about the football every week. That's what we do. We've got the phone in. Fans can phone in. But, the club are also welcome to contribute in any way they like and phone up the phone in and say, and phone me up and say, Matt, can we come on a podcast? Can we talk about this?
Darren, get on the phone.
You know what I mean? And have this conversation, because the silence that comes out of a club can be frustrating and can rile fans. And I agree with the Unsworth. They need to sit down and say, look, how are we going to go about this? Like, how are we going to kind of trying to heal this? I think even if you try, that goes a long way, doesn't it? Even if it doesn't work, just the trying of it, that tends to go a long way. The fact that people actually make an effort to try and deal with something.
I'll just leave this now with my community trust director hat on. The stuff, I sat in a meeting with Darren Royal presenting to us, the stuff Frank and the board have got planned, not just for Oldham Athletic, but for Oldham Town as a whole, is amazing. Like, there's still people started to question we are still in the best hands possible. And I just feel like we're at a nearly point on the pitch, and it's just like, fix that and we go places. So, and they're trying to do it the right way.
And they do. David Unsworth is an integral part of their team, whether we like it or not. Whether you think he's the right man or not, all this great work that they're doing and all this stuff that they're building, he's part of it, and he's their man, and they want it to work with all the stuff that he's saying in the meetings and all the stuff that he did. They believe in him, and it's very, very hard for them. And I sort of say them, like when they did their purpose on a page for the club, that their purpose on the page was everything that they do within the entire spectrum of the football club has to contribute towards winning games on the pitch. So there is within that football club, from the stewards and the turnstile operators all the way up to the owners and everybody in between. They all feel like they're contributing and that they're working towards that. So when crowds are chanting for the manager out, it affects everybody at the football club. They all feel that is some kind of like. But this is just me saying this is my feeling. But I think that they all feel that it's it probably demotivates everybody. They probably feel it's not just the manager that is on the end of it. It's like, well, we're all trying to do this, and I think that just needs to be acknowledged. Whether or not people pay any attention to it or give a shit is a separate thing. But I think it's important to remember he's an integral part of what they're trying to rebuild, and we're very, very lucky to be in this situation. And to just say, oh well, that was last season. We got the new. Forget about everything. We expect the best, and I think that's a bit short-sighted and a little bit naive, personally.
Well, that's it. That's what you come back to the point before. How is this fixed now? How did it get to the point where there's 5,000-6,000 fans chanting for the manager out at this stage of the season? What's happened, and how does that get fixed? If they're sorry, I keep thinking of the Stand By Me Old Man song the Chatix did, but if they are the board are saying that kind of thing, then they need to sell that to the fans. That's exactly.
Let's all come together and have a chat about it in whatever format, whatever forum. But I think a bit of an effort needs to be made now to sort of try and deal with this rather than just sweep it under the carpet.
Well, Blackpool did it, didn't they? Blackpool put a statement out, didn't they, when the chairman came out, and the chairman came out and said, look, all this money and all the spending, where's it all gone? And I know it's not the best start to the season, but believe me, he came out and made a little statement, and I think that was quite well received by the Blackpool fans, well, the majority of them, because they're quite divided, aren't they, over the manager at the moment? You're never
going to please all the people all the time, are you? But I think you've got to do what you think is the right thing, and like you said there, Ryan, about all the things that are planned and all the. I think intentions are really, really important. I think people having the right intentions and the right motivations is really important. And I think that the people that are running the football club got the right intentions. I think the manager's got the right intentions as well. And I think it's he wants it to work. And I do feel a bit sorry for him.
Because people forget about Frank.
The other thing is actions speak louder than words as well, though, don't they? If you want a bit of balance.
I'm not. Go on.
I'm just saying. As well as.
Well, what actions though? What actions we've talked about the things that the manager could potentially do in terms of trying to heal the.
But it's all right saying having a nice intention, but if the board are not communicating with the fans, which you've just said you want them to do, then they need to do it, don't they?
I'm not saying what anybody needs to do. We're having a conversation, and we're acknowledging in a public way that nobody else is doing. Nobody else is publicly having this conversation apart from on Twitter. So what we're saying is does something need to be addressed here? Does something need to be dealt with in order to try and heal this situation?
I think actions wise though, what fans would have wanted yesterday was he had a free hit to just go and score a few goals. Like, that would have been the best action possible. 4-0. I know few of the moments beforehand were saying, if we win this 4-0, it's still without it's Dorking. But he had a free hit to just go for it then and prove a point. And it seemed like he bottled it with this one up front. And I don't know why.
I think he's got to be braver, Ryan. I do. Yeah. I do think he's got to be braver. At the end of the day, the only way fans will eat the humble pie if we go on a 15-match winning run.
That's it,
and all of a sudden we're fantastic. They'll turn around and say, well, it looks like I might have got this wrong. They will, and they'll get behind him. They'll change. Football fans. Everyone knows football fans are fickle and they chop and change. But they'll only change the other way now. With wins and results, and he's David Unsworth has got to be braver, in my opinion, and he's got to step up. And I think at this stage we're getting to the point where the club needs to step up and deal with this boiling pot, because it's not going to go anywhere. It's not going to change. It's just going to bring negativity onto this whole situation, which I think is really unhealthy. I was
chuckling at Macca last week when he said intravenous drip of humble pie. Like,
yeah.
Every fan want to hear that.
Talking of negativity, then, should we do Latic's mind?
Oh my word!
And see how Ryan gets on.
That's not very. I mean, come on, you set him up for bloody failure.
Sorry, mate.
I think you're going to do really well here, Ryan.
I got 2 on last week, so I was happy.
Yeah, there you go.
I got them all.
Well, you had the answers, right? Good luck, Ryan.
God.
Question 1. Who was the first full-time manager appointed under the Three Amigos?
John Sheridan.
Incorrect. Who was the Latics captain the year they won the second division in 1991?
Oh, Jesus Christ. If I told you I was 2, does that help?
No.
God. Mike Milligan. I don't know.
Incorrect. Latics have had 15 managers to manage over 100 games. Only 2 of them have a win ratio under 1/3. Can you name one of them?
Keith Curl.
No.
Oh, what? He was awful.
Latics played Liverpool in the FA Cup in 3 consecutive seasons between 2012 and 14. Liverpool beat us 5-1 at Anfield. We famously won 3-2 at home. And then in January 2014, what was the score?
$5-0.
No, incorrect. Who was Latics manager in the 97-98 season?
Neil Warnock.
Correct.
Yes, I was mascot that year. Fucking finally, I've got one.
Which winger arrived from Everton in the summer of 1989?
Graham Sharp.
Incorrect.
I was born then.
Which permanent manager for Latics? Which permanent manager managed Latics for only 7 games?
Paul Scholes.
Correct.
Yes.
Including caretakers, how many managers have managed Latics on more than one occasion?
Including caretakers. 4.
Incorrect. It was 7.
Oh.
So, the answers. Who was the first manager appointed under the Three Amigos? That was Brian Talbot. Who was the captain of the second division winning 1991 season? It was Earl Barrett.
Yeah.
Latics had 50 managers to manage over 100 games. Only 2 of them had a win ratio under 1/3. Can you name one of them? Matt, anyone? No?
No.
It was Paul Dickoff or Graham Sharp.
Dickoff was under 1/3?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Latics played Liverpool. The first time they beat us 5-1. And then
2-0, Dave.
We beat them 2-0, yeah.
No, they beat us 2-0.
Yeah, they beat us 2-0, yeah. 2-0. Yeah. Which winger arrived from Everton in 1989? That was Neil Adams.
Neil Adams, yes. I got 3.
And including caretakers, how many managers have managed Latics on more than one occasion? There was 7. David Ashworth, Robert Mellor, Jack Rowley, John Sheridan, Joe Royal, Tony Philliskirk, and Pete Wild.
I'll take 2. I'll go for 3 next year.
You got 2. 2. So, yeah. I got into your head, didn't I? Sorry, mate.
No. I got 2 last week as well, so I'm doing all right. I got 0 last season. So
consistency is important, Ryan. Tell the manager. Oh, God. Well, look, I hope that, you're listening to this on Monday or whatever. I hope it offers some kind of food for thought, if nothing else. It's hard. Honestly, this season has been the hardest season for motivation for this podcast. It's been so hard. So, oh God, I've got to do the pod on Sunday. It's hard work. Like coming on and saying, right, we've got to talk about this situation again, and knowing like that there's just this split in opinion amongst the fan base. And as a fan, I was nervous at the end of that game. I desperately wanted us to win the game. That's all that mattered yesterday. Can we nick one? Can we nick a late goal? Willoughby had a good chance. I've not seen any of the highlights back yet, but he looked like he had a good chance to nick it. Obviously, we had a massive stroke of luck with the goalkeeper and their decision yesterday. But like ultimately, winning games is what matters, and seeing us creep back up that table and the confidence that brings and all that kind of stuff. So. I think we've. It's been a good chat, Ryan. Thanks for coming on, mate. And I thought you made some really, really good points. It's not about are you ones within, are you ones without. If you're one, you're right. If you're the other, you're wrong. It's not about that. What's important for our football club is that we when we have issues, and we will have issues, we find solutions and we deal with them, and we try and work together. It's our club. It's if you're the manager of a football club, it's your club. If you're a player at the football club, it's your club. If you're a fan, it's your club. If you're a director or an owner, it's your club. It's our club. We need to find solutions when we have issues. And at the minute, on the pitch, we have issues, but off the pitch, things are fantastic. Thank you for listening to the Boundary Park Alert System, a QPod production hosted and produced weekly by Matt Dean, Andy Halliwell and Dave Bradley. QPod is Oldham's only dedicated podcast production company, and if you'd like to learn more about how podcasting can help take your brand to the next level, visit kupod.co.uk. A huge thank you goes to all those people who subscribe to the podcast on Spotify. We really appreciate you all. Please visit oafcpodcast.co.uk and click Be a Supporter, or find the link in the show notes if you'd like to help us fund the show. It's only $2.99 per month to subscribe, but if you'd rather make a one-off donation, please visit buymeacoffee.com/OAFC podcast or click the link on our website. Don't miss the Latics football phone-in every Wednesday live from 8:30 p.m. Please visit youtube.com/@OAFC podcast and do hit subscribe while you are there. You can also follow and interact with us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and TikTok @OAFC podcast. Big thanks go to Eileen Finnegan for writing our excellent weekly blog, which we encourage you to read on our website every Saturday morning, and also to Paul Prendergast for providing us with all the Latics Mind questions. The title music for the show is by Manchester DJ and producer Starion, and for more information visit bandcamp.com/Red Laser Records. If you'd like to be a guest or contribute to the show, we would love to hear from you. Until then, see you next time.